All right, let's jump right in, shall we? Today we're taking a deep dive into the Nord Stage 3 English User Manual.
We're going to get into the nuts and bolts of this instrument, really uncover what makes it tick.
You know, even if you've never touched a keyboard in your life, I think you'll find this pretty fascinating.
Absolutely. We're talking about a musical powerhouse here.
Speaking of power, I gotta say, the manual starts off in a way I wasn't quite expecting.
Oh, how so?
Well, there's this whole section on safety warnings, like avoiding electric shock, preventing water damage, the usual stuff.
Right.
It's like, hold on a second. Before I can channel my inner Mozart, I got to make sure I'm not going to get electrocuted.
Well, hey, safety first, right?
I guess so. It just seems a bit out of place in a music manual.
I think it's a good reminder, though,
Okay, I'll bite. Remind me of what?
that these instruments, as amazing as they are still complex pieces of technology.
True. And we want to keep them, and ourselves, in good working order.
Exactly. No point in having all those incredible sounds if you're not around to play them.
Okay, fair enough. So speaking of sounds, the manual breaks it down into three main sections, right?
That's right. Piano, synth, and organ. The holy trinity of keyboard instruments, you could say.
And it sounds like each section is like a deep dive in itself.
Oh, absolutely. We're not talking about just a handful of preset sounds here. Nord has gone all out with this instrument.
So where do you want to start? Piano.
Sure, let's start there. You know, what sets these piano sounds apart is the level of detail. They've really captured the nuances of the real thing.
Oh, give me an example.
Well, imagine playing a chord on a grand piano. You hear not just the notes themselves, but also these subtle vibrations from the other strings.
Ah, you mean like the sympathetic resonance.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's something Nord has built into their piano models.
So it's not just a recording of a piano, it's like a simulation of how the whole instrument responds.
Precisely. They call it string resonance.
String resonance, huh? That's pretty impressive.
It really adds a level of realism you don't get with simpler piano samples.
And they didn't stop there, did they? The manual mentions other cool features too.
Oh yeah, they've gone deep into the details, like recreating the sound of the damper pedal, that little thud you hear when you press it.
It's like they've thought of everything, even the sounds you wouldn't necessarily think about.
But those details all add up to a much more authentic playing experience.
I bet. Especially for pianists who are used to the feel of an acoustic instrument.
Absolutely. But even if you're not a trained pianist, you'll appreciate the expressiveness it brings.
Okay, so the piano section sounds pretty amazing. What about the synth section? I'm kind of curious about that one, especially with all the fancy terms they use in the manual.
Oh yeah, the synth engine is a beast. Tons of possibilities there.
Like I saw something about formant sounds and superwaves. What are those all about?
Well, think of formants as shaping the tonal character of a sound. It's kind of like changing the vowels in human speech. You can get some really vocal-like sounds that way.
So it's almost like giving the synth a voice, a personality.
Exactly. And then you have the superwaves, which are these massive, complex waveforms. They can evolve and morph over time, creating these really wild textures.
Oh, sounds pretty intense.
Oh, it definitely is. It's like having a whole sound designer built into the keyboard.
So you can basically go from classic analog style synth sounds to these completely otherworldly experimental textures.
Pretty much. And the possibilities are endless, especially when you start playing with the modulation options and effects.
Okay, you've got me hooked. Pianos with real-world physics, synths that can talk. What about the organ? They seem to have put a lot of love into those emulations too, especially the B3.
Oh, yeah, they really did. What's cool is they didn't just sample the sound of a B3.
They didn't. So what did they do?
They actually modeled the behavior of those 91 spinning tone wheels. The way they interact, the subtle imperfections that give the B3 its character.
Wow. So are we talking about a perfect replica of a real B3 then?
Well, it's more about capturing the soul of the instrument, that unique blend of warmth, grit, and growl.
I like that. Capturing the soul. It's more than just recreating the sound, it's about recreating the feeling.
Exactly. And they even have different wear modes. You can choose how pristine or aged you want the organ to sound.
So whether you want that classic 60s rock sound or something more modern, it's all there.
Yep. They've really thought of everything.
This is getting me really curious about how all these sounds work together. Can you play different sounds at the same time?
Absolutely. In fact, that's one of the standout features of the Nord Stage 3. You can split the keyboard into 4 independent zones.
Wait, 4 zones? You mean like I could have a bass line running on one part of the keyboard, chords on another, and a lead sound on top?
Exactly. It's like having a whole band inside the keyboard.
And I'm guessing the manual goes into detail about how you control all those zones.
Oh, yeah. They break it all down. Routing, layering, external controllers. It's a seriously powerful setup.
Especially for live performance, I imagine.
Absolutely. It's a dream come true for anyone who needs to switch between sounds quickly and seamlessly.
Speaking of seamless, that's another thing they emphasized in the manual. No abrupt cutoffs when you switch sounds.
Right. That's something that's often overlooked in other keyboards, but it's crucial for live performance.
Imagine being in the middle of a solo and suddenly the sound just disappears. Not a good look.
Not at all. Nord has made sure that transitions are smooth and glitch-free.
Okay, this is all starting to sound pretty amazing,
Yeah.
but I have to admit, it's also a bit overwhelming. There's so much to this instrument.
It's a lot to take in, I know, but that's also what makes it so exciting. And don't worry, the manual is there to guide you every step of the way.
So we've got these incredibly detailed sounds, the ability to split the keyboard into multiple zones, seamless transitions. What else is lurking in this manual that we need to know about? I have a feeling we're just scratching the surface here. It's like we're uncovering a hidden world, isn't it? This manual is like a treasure map leading us to all these sonic gems.
It really is, and the deeper we go, the more fascinating it gets.
Speaking of fascinating, we talked about that B3 tone wheel organ model earlier.
Yeah.
Well, I was reading about this thing called energy robbing. And honestly, it sounds more like a physics concept than something you'd find in a music manual.
I know what you mean. It's a bit of a head-scratcher at first.
So can you break it down for us? What is energy robbing and why should we care?
Okay, so imagine this. You're playing a real B3 organ, right? And you hit a whole bunch of keys at once.
Okay, I'm picturing it. Lots of keys going down.
Now, all those tone wheels, those spinning discs that create the sound, they all draw power from a shared source.
Like a power grid.
Exactly. And when you suddenly demand a lot of power from that grid, what happens?
Well, things start to strain a bit, right? Maybe the lights dim.
That's the idea. With the B3, that strain, that energy robbing, actually affects the sound.
You mean it changed the way it sounds?
Yeah. It causes a slight drop in volume and this subtle compression effect, almost like the sound is being squeezed together.
Interesting. So it's like the tone wheels are competing for energy, and that competition actually shapes the sound in a unique way.
Exactly. And Nord has gone to great lengths to recreate this behavior in their digital model.
Wow. So you're telling me that even that subtle detail, that little bit of energy robbing, is part of what makes the Nord Stage 3 sound so authentic?
It's all part of the magic. It's about capturing those nuances, those little imperfections that make the instrument come alive.
I love that. It's not just about replicating the notes, it's about replicating the feeling, the soul of the instrument.
And it's not just the B3. Nord has applied that same level of detail to the other organ models too, like the Vox Continental, the Farfisa Compact.
Oh man, those are some classic organs.
Mhm.
The Vox, especially that bright, punchy sound, it's instantly recognizable.
It's iconic. And the Nord Stage 3 nails it. And then you have the Farfisa with its raw, almost aggressive tone. So different from the Vox, but equally cool.
It's amazing to think that you can have all these different organs, all these different eras of music right there at your fingertips,
Yeah.
all in one instrument.
And let's not forget about the pianos. We talked about string resonance earlier, but there's another feature that caught my eye. Soft release.
Soft release. I don't think I've heard of that one.
So think about the way a piano note decays, how it fades out. On a real piano, if you release the key gently, the sound lingers a bit longer. It's a softer, more delicate ending.
Ah, I see. So soft release is basically emulating that behavior.
Yep. It's another one of those subtle details that most people wouldn't even notice, but it makes a big difference in the overall feel.
It's like they've thought of everything, even the way our fingers interact with the keys.
And don't forget about pedal noise. They've even modeled the subtle mechanical sounds you hear when you use the damper pedal on a real piano.
It's incredible. It's like they've captured not just the sound of the piano, but the whole experience of playing it, the sights, the sounds, the feel.
Exactly. And it's all part of what makes the Nord Stage 3 such a special instrument.
Okay, we've covered pianos, organs, but I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of the synth engine. The manual mentions all sorts of advanced features, oscillators, filters, envelopes, effects.
It's a deep rabbit hole, for sure, and we could easily spend hours talking about it.
But let's focus on those superwaves again for a minute. The manual says they have A fundamental that is softer than the many harmonics, which, to be honest, sounds a bit like a foreign language to me.
Let me translate. Basically, it means that the primary tone of the wave, the fundamental, is less prominent than the overtones. So you get this really rich, complex sound.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. It's like the main note is kind of hiding in the background while all these other frequencies are swirling around it.
Something like that. It's perfect for creating textures and pads that evolve and morph over time.
So I could create these huge, evolving soundscapes that almost sound like they're breathing, or like a landscape shifting and changing.
Exactly. And with all the modulation capabilities of the Nord Stage 3, you can really sculpt those sounds in real time, make them come alive.
Wow. I have to admit, I'm starting to get a little bit overwhelmed by all this. The sheer depth of control, the range of possibilities, it's mind-blowing.
It can be a lot to take in, but remember, this is an instrument that rewards exploration. The more you dig in, the more you discover.
And that's what makes it so exciting, right? It's not a one-size-fits-all keyboard. It's a tool for discovery.
Exactly. And the user manual is your guide on that journey.
So we've talked a lot about the individual pieces, pianos, organs, synths, but what about the big picture? How does it all come together?
That's a great question. And the answer is seamlessly. One of the things that sets the Nord Stage 3 apart is the way it integrates all these different sound engines.
So you're not limited to playing just one type of sound at a time. You can blend them, layer them, create these sonic hybrids.
Exactly. It's like having a whole orchestra at your disposal, but with the flexibility and control of a modern instrument.
And with features like the 4 keyboard zones and seamless transitions, you can switch between those sounds effortlessly, right?
Effortlessly. It's all about creating a fluid, dynamic performance, one that flows organically from one sound to the next.
It sounds like a composer's dream. You could create anything from classical pieces to modern electronic music, all on the same instrument.
And the manual even hints at using the Nord Stage 3 for things like sound design, creating sound effects for movies, video games.
Now that you mention it, I can totally see that. With all those unique textures and modulation capabilities, you could create some really otherworldly sounds.
The possibilities really are endless, and that's what I love about the Nord Stage 3. It's not just a keyboard, it's a canvas for sonic exploration.
Speaking of exploration, I remember reading that Nord actually releases new sounds for the Stage 3 on a regular basis.
That's right. You can download new piano samples, synth patches, even organ models from their website.
So it's like the instrument is constantly evolving. Even if you've mastered everything it offers today, there's always something new to discover tomorrow.
That's part of what makes it so exciting. It's a living, breathing instrument. And with this manual as our guide, we're just starting to unlock its secrets.
We spent a lot of time talking about the incredible range of sounds the Nord Stage 3 offers. But it's not just about the sounds themselves, right?
You got it. It's how you use them, how you interact with them, how you mold them into something unique.
It's like the Nord Stage 3 is giving you the raw materials, but it's up to you to sculpt them into a masterpiece.
Exactly. This isn't just a passive instrument. It's designed for dynamic expression. It wants you to push the boundaries.
And the manual really dives deep into all those ways you can customize the instrument. It goes way beyond just picking a preset sound.
One thing that really jumped out at me, and we've talked about it a bit already, is the morph function.
Ah, yes, morphing. Sounds powerful.
It is. You can basically control multiple parameters at once, all using the modulation wheel, aftertouch, or a pedal.
So, for example, I could assign the modulation wheel to control, say, the filter cutoff.
Right, so you'd be making the sound brighter or darker as you move the wheel.
And at the same time, I could use aftertouch, the pressure I put on the keys, to control something like the vibrato depth.
But you got it. You'd be adding this subtle wobble to the sound, controlled entirely by how hard you press the keys.
And then on top of that, I could use a pedal to control the delay time, creating these echoing trails that build and fade.
Exactly. It's like having an extra set of hands, or maybe even a whole extra brain, working with you to shape the sound in real time.
So much control. I love it. And then when you add in the fact that you can have 4 keyboard zones.
Oh yeah, with the zones, you can apply different morph settings to each one, creating these really complex, evolving soundscapes. It's amazing.
It's like each zone becomes its own little instrument, responding to your touch in its own way.
Exactly. And then we can't forget about the external section. This is where things get really interesting.
External section, that sounds intriguing. What's that all about?
Basically, it lets you control other MIDI devices directly from the Nord Stage 3.
So like if I had a whole rack of vintage synths, drum machines, samplers.
You could control them all from the Nord Stage 3. trigger sequences, change patches, even tweak parameters on those external devices.
All without taking your hands off the keyboard.
Exactly. It's like turning the Nord Stage 3 into the command center for your entire musical setup.
That's pretty cool. And I'm guessing the manual explains how to do all that.
Oh yeah, it breaks it down step by step. Even if you're not a MIDI expert, you can get things up and running pretty easily. It's well written, easy to follow.
You know, it's funny. We've talked so much about the sound, the technology, the possibilities, but I also can't help but think about the Nord Stage 3 as a physical object. I mean, It's such a distinctive instrument with those red knobs and wooden end panels.
It's definitely got a look. It's iconic.
But it's not just about the looks, right? The design seems really functional, too.
Oh, absolutely. Everything is laid out so logically. The controls are grouped intuitively. The display's clear and easy to read.
It's an instrument that encourages you to explore, to experiment.
Totally. And, one thing the manual doesn't mention is the amazing online community that surrounds the Nord Stage 3.
Oh, yeah. There's a whole world of Nord enthusiasts out there.
Forums, Facebook groups, YouTube channels, you name it.
It's a great place to find patches, get tips, ask questions, connect with other Nord users.
It's really inspiring to see the passion people have for this instrument.
You know, we've come to the end of our deep dive into the Nord Stage 3 user manual, and I have to say I'm blown away.
Me too. We've covered a lot of ground.
We've talked about its history, the technology behind those amazing sounds, the sheer depth of control it offers, the design philosophy, and even the community that surrounds it.
And we've just scratched the surface.
That's the beauty of it, right? There's always more to explore, more to discover.
If you're looking for an instrument that blends vintage warmth with modern innovation,
an instrument that's powerful yet intuitive, that can handle any genre you throw at it.
An instrument that inspires you to create, to experiment, to push your boundaries.
Then the Nord Stage 3 might just be the instrument you've been waiting for.
And this manual, it's your guide to unlocking its full potential.
So go out there, explore, experiment, create. Make some music. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And until next time, keep those creative sparks flying.